It's over. It's over. Bryan Mbuemo to Manchester United. Here we go. Thank God. It's been such a long few weeks, really, hasn't it? And we finally get the good news that we've been waiting for, guys, in relation to the signing of the second number 10 at Manchester United. And yeah, it's been a long time coming, but David Ornstein has dropped a massive story about 20 minutes ago. Exclusive: Manchester United reach agreement with Brentford to sign Mbuemo. Deal between clubs struck at £65 million guaranteed, plus up to 6 million in add-ons, 4 installments, which is very interesting to hear. Obviously, we were speaking about the installments, what would they be, and obviously Manchester United would probably want to do it over as many installments as possible to lessen the blow. 26-year-old only wanted Manchester United move from Brentford is now being finalised. Happy days. And of course then we had the updates from Fabrizio Romano after that as well. Breaking news: Bryan Mbuemo to Manchester United. Here we go. Green light from Brentford, and club-to-club agreement reached for £70 million package, as the Athletic report. Contract agreed weeks ago with Mbuemo, as he only wanted Manchester United. Happy days. Happy days. It's been a long few weeks, really, hasn't it, with Mbuemo, and I think, you know, the fact that we're getting the deal done now before we go on the US tour is absolutely fantastic. It really is. Smash a like on the video, guys, if you haven't done so already. Subscribe if you're new to the channel and all that good stuff as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as well. Obviously, look, it's been a long 6 weeks that we've been in negotiations with Brentford for Mbuemo. And look, we done the live reaction yesterday when the third bid went in, and we give our opinions on that as well. And look, I think obviously the heavy links from Newcastle around Visa have sprung Manchester United into action. And look, whether waiting this long was the right thing to do or not remains to be seen. He's basically only missed 1 week of pre-season. You would expect him to be in now over the weekend and fly out with Manchester United on Tuesday, I think. I'm not sure if United fly directly from Sweden to the US. They probably do, but he'll definitely meet up with Manchester United on the pre-season tour. So look, he's only really missed a week of training. He's only back to training this week himself, given his time off, and that would have been the case if we signed him a few weeks earlier. Regardless, he would have only been back a week earlier anyway. So he is coming in at a good time. He is going to be on pre-season tour, which was the main worry and concern with the majority of us, wasn't it? And look, I'm absolutely over the moon we've got him in. And again, look, we'll talk about it probably a little bit in depth tonight about, you know, why Manchester United waited so long, and maybe the reputation, has it improved or has it diminished a little bit more in relation to us letting it drag on for so long. And we'll talk a little bit about that in depth tonight. But I think, look, ultimately, Manchester United wanted to get him for the price that they deemed was fair valuation. Now, obviously, you're always going to try and negotiate your way down as the buying club. And I think Manchester United maybe waiting that little bit longer, I don't think in hindsight was a particularly bad thing. I'm sure people are going to disagree with me on that. But ultimately, I genuinely believe that whoever's making these deals behind the scenes have spoken with Ruben Amram, and they would have said, when's the latest you want him in? And he would have said, I want him in for the American tour. Okay, fine. Well, that gives us time to maybe put in a second bid, and let's see, do Brentford blink? Ultimately, Brentford didn't blink, and Manchester United didn't blink either until the whole visa to Newcastle picked up a head of steam, and that not spooked Manchester United into making a higher bid and coming up to what Brentford wanted, but Brentford were absolutely adamant that they weren't going to sell two players, Visa and Mbuemo, in the same season. So if the Visa deal got done first, Mbuemo was staying put. And Mbuemo kind of hinted that, you know, it was either go to Manchester United or stay at Brentford. So, look, ultimately, I think, you know, not that it's been good business by Manchester United, but I don't think it's been bad business by Manchester United. I think, look, we held our nerve as long as we could in relation to getting him at what we thought we could get him at, but ultimately we did have to come up to the valuation that Brentford wanted because of exterior circumstances. And look, that's understandable, and look, I'm absolutely okay with that. I want Manchester United, not to rush into signing deals, and if we can continue that trend over the next 3, 4, 5 years, I think it will improve Manchester United's standings within the transfer market with other clubs, and hopefully we can build a reputation again that United are not going to get pushed around, and I think that's ultimately what Ineos and Jim Ratcliffe and whoever else was negotiating was trying to do. I genuinely believe that. Who have we got in the chat? Ben and Desi are in there saying, let's go on to the next now. Desi says, Jack, did you put the yes on your piece of paper? I did. There it is here. Yes. Now, what was I? So basically, for anyone who doesn't know, on last week's podcast, we asked, would Manchester United have a Here We Go before next week's podcast? Now, we had the podcast a day early. We had it on Wednesday this week instead of Thursday. So I would have only been a day out. But nonetheless, Desi, I'm happy. I was wrong. I think we said by the next podcast, and that would have been yesterday. But look, I was a day out. I'm going to say I was right regardless. Ben says, Watkins next, front three sorted. Yeah, well, look, we've got to move on to a striker now, really, don't we? I think that's the ultimate goal now, and really, really fix that front three. And give us more options there. 2 more signings and it will have been a good transfer window. And that's what I'm saying here now. 2 days ago, it was doom and gloom. 2 days ago it was doom and gloom, and it's been a horrendous transfer window, and oh God, what are we doing, and so on and so forth. And now we've got a Here We Go for Mbuemo. We've already got Cunha in the door, and we've already got the likes of Diego Leon in as well. And Fabrizio Romano has been saying the fee will be 65 million plus 6 in add-ons, paid over 4 different installments. Brentford accepted the payment structure proposed by Manchester United, which is good negotiating out United. United said, look, we'll pay it over 4 installments. So you're probably talking about, what are you talking? Maybe, hey Siri, 65 divided by 4.
65 divided by 4 is 16.25.
There you go. 16.25 million over 4 different installments for a player of Bryan Mbuemo's quality is a very good deal. And I think Manchester United building them I suppose installments into the structure have been very, very good bits of business by Manchester United. If we're paying 16.25 million each time we put in an installment, it's absolutely fantastic. It really is. Now, that installment might seem a little bit negative if Bryan Mbuemo goes on to be a failure at Manchester United, and you go, like, in 2 years' time, if he scored 14 goals in 2.5 years, you're going to go, shit, we've still got to pay 2 installments of 16.5 million over the next 2 summers, but if it goes on to be a success, which I do think he will, I do think it will be money well spent. I genuinely do. If we're looking at his stats, I mean, look, we all know about his stats last season. When we're talking about goals scored, it's been very, very good. 20 goals scored in the Premier League last season with 8 assists is a fantastic return. And when you look at the likes of Brentford and how they set up their play and the type of position that Mbuemo plays in with Brentford, it is very similar to what Ruben Amorim wants from him. That high intensity, high pressing inside forward, number 10 position is ideal for him. And when you're looking at what we had last season, whether it would be a Xerxes in the 10, maybe a Menu, maybe a Bruno, maybe a Mason Mount. There was a lot of rotation within that number 10 role. If you're putting in Cunha and Mbuemo into them 2 number 10s, one is a right footer on the left side in Cunha, and one is a left footer on the right side in Mbuemo, it drastically improves that forward line. It really, really does. And if you can add a striker to that now with an Ollie Watkins who gets, double figures in the Premier League most seasons, it's not going to take a rocket rocket scientist to prove that Manchester United will be higher up the table next season. They've got to continue to, to put them stats forward. But I want to share with you guys the type of player that we are going to be getting next season, and these are some of the highlights that we're going to be looking at with Mbuemo next season, and it's absolutely fantastic. When we look at him on that inside forward position, cutting in on his left foot, absolutely fantastic. Left footer, well able to finish, always in the right positions. These are all types of things that you want to be able to have in your forward line, and different types of goals as well. Coming in off that right hand side to be in the right positions. Look at this, different types of goals, penalties, a Bruno Fernandes style penalty. Very, very good. And look, I'm excited. I really, really am. I'm excited for this. And I think we've drastically improved our forward line, bringing in somebody like Mbuemo into the team like that. It can only improve us. It really, really can. What are we saying here? You were right. Podcast doesn't start until 9 on a Thursday, says Desi. Thomas says, is Ollie a good swap for Mbuemo? Is Ollie a good swap for Mbuemo? I don't know what that means, Thomas. Maybe rejig it. But look, it's got to be the number 9 position now, and we will see over the coming days how quickly Manchester United are going to move in the transfer market for other positions, because we've heard quite extensively over the last few weeks that Manchester United are focusing solely on Mbuemo before any other deals can go through. And is it going to be a case now where we move on players as quickly as we can before we get new players in the door? Or are we going to see United move for a striker quickly? Are we going to see us go for a goalkeeper quickly? And number 6, whoever else we're going to be looking at to improve that side, I think it's going to be very interesting to see. I think it's quite clear that we need a new striker in that team. We really do. I think we've seen some small reports yesterday suggesting that United are interested in Benjamin Sesko, because now Liverpool are moving for Ekitike. Sesko wants to move, and that not having European football won't be as much of a stumbling block as once thought for somebody like Sesko. That remains to be seen. Nonetheless, he would be very, very big money if he's to move. He'd be 80, 90 million. Whereas you could get somebody like Ollie Watkins, who's Premier League proven, albeit he is older than Benjamin Sesko, and he's outside of the age bracket that Ineos are looking to bring in. He is Premier League proven, and he's scored double figures in the Premier League, I think the last 4 or 5 years in a row. So you are buying Premier League proven there with Ollie Watkins. And when you see what Mbuemo has done in the Premier League, and when you see what Cunha has done in the Premier League, is Premier League proven now the way to go? Is Benjamin Sesko a risk that Man United can't really afford to take? And that remains to be seen. But look, nonetheless, our forward line now has drastically been improved, and I think we can improve it more, and I think we need to improve it more. We can't rely on Rasmus Højlund again for another season. We just can't, regardless of building the team around him, and the team being more improved. The eyes don't lie, and he's not good enough. We need to get a number 9 in, and I think if we can get a number 9 in, like Ollie Watkins or a Benjamin Sesko, I do think Manchester United can genuinely challenge for European spots next season. Now, I'm not saying Champions League, because I think top four would be out of the equation. I really do. And we've got a lot of improvement needed between now and getting back into Champions League football. But I certainly think if you're getting Mbuemo, Cunha, and maybe an Ollie Watkins or a Benjamin Sesko into your team, I do think that gives you a big, big opportunity to go and challenge for top 6 Europa at least. But it's positive, guys, and I want to know what you guys think as well about maybe the delay in getting Mbuemo done. Were United waiting for Brentford to blink, and because of the visa to Newcastle rumours, you know, are you happy that Manchester United waited that long? And maybe they weren't forced into making a third bid, but realise that, look, now's the time to make it. If we want him in before the American tour, now is the time. And in fairness, as soon as that third bid went in, it went in less than 24 hours ago, and we've already got an agreement in place. So United, when the bid went in, worked fast to get the structure in place and get it done. And give Brentford what they wanted as well. So there are positives to come out of that as well. Even though we did leave it 6 weeks, you know, I think it's been 3 weeks since the second bid went in. When the third bid went in, Manchester United acted fast. And you can say United are acting slow over the last 3 weeks, but they haven't been acting at all. The second bid has been on the table, and United have left it there, and they've waited, and they've waited, and they've been patient. And I do think that is a positive way to do business. You know, they were quite calm about when they could get him in, and I do think United were happy with. I do think United were happy with waiting, and they're comfortable with when they wanted him in. I think they knew that they could get a deal done within a day or two, and I think they were happy to leave it right up until the team leave for the US tour. And as long as he was on that, I think United were comfortable. And that comes from the manager as well. Ruben Amorim was absolutely... I'm convinced that Ruben Amorim was happy not to have Mbuemo in until they... Or not that he was not... He would ideally have wanted to have him in 2 weeks ago or whatever, or the start of pre-season. But he 100% said to the board, the US is the cut-off. I want him on the US tour. And they said, right, Graham, well, that gives us time. And I think that's smart out United. I genuinely do. Would Ollie Watkins be a good swap for Garnacho, says Thomas? Yeah, absolutely I do. I think that would be a fantastic swap deal for us. But I don't think we can use Garnacho as a swap deal. And we spoke about this before, and Chris mentioned it on the podcast a couple of times. Garnacho is an academy graduate. So he is pure profit on the books. If we use him in a swap deal, if we use Garnacho in the swap deal, he's no longer pure profit. Them deals would have to be separate. So we would have to sell Garnacho to Aston Villa on a separate deal than Ollie Watkins coming. So there would be two separate negotiations. They wouldn't be part of the same deal. We want Garnacho as pure profit, and for that to be the case, he's got to go on a singular deal. He can't be part of a swap deal. But that doesn't mean that you still can't get Ollie Watkins off of Villa. We could say to Villa, look, we'll give you Garnacho for 40 million, but you've got to give us Watkins for 50 or 55. They've got to be separate deals, but, you know, I'm sure them conversations will happen if United are going to Villa negotiating prices or deals or whatever the case may be. It's just on paper they've got to be separate deals. But I do think that would be a very, very good swap deal if you're talking... Or not swap deal, I do think that would be a good... There would be two good deals. If Garnacho went to Villa and Ollie Watkins came to us, I mean, that is a very, very good upgrade. It really is. But yeah, I mean, guys, look, it's good news. It's good news. We'll talk about it a little bit more tonight on the news show at 9 o'clock. So if you are, or if you haven't already done so, do hit that subscribe button for me. Hit the like button on your way out as well, guys. It does help out the channel an awful lot. Great news. Mbuemo is in, Cunha is in. Well, he's not in yet, but, you know, he's got to do his medical, but there will be no issues. We will see him holding up a Manchester United shirt before Monday. I'm pretty certain of that. So happy days, guys. We will be back tomorrow. We'll be back tonight for the news show in depth, so make sure you're tuning in for that. And we've got a watch along tomorrow, guys, at 2 o'clock, so make sure you're tuning in for that as well. I don't think Mbuemo is going to be there for that, but we will see Cunha, we will see Diego Leon, we'll see the players that are back as well. So happy days. Make sure you're turning on notifications so you do know when we're going live. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Third deal of the summer is done. Bryan Mbuemo is in. Happy, happy days. I'll chat to you tonight, guys. Take it easy. Happy Friday.